scenario where civilization starts over. Let's get into it. This is season 2, episode 36, and we can get right into it. So we saw many things happen, such as a pretty large war that broke out over here in Europe. Well, the Yellow Team's alliance, the Yellow Religious Alliance here, kind of got pushed back from spreading all the way down into Iberia, the Iberian Peninsula through Italy, and all the way up to here in Latvia, just down to this Baltic region here, and some tiny parts of Italy, which is kind of bad for the Yellow Religious Alliance, as well. It's pretty small, thing to. You don't want to be in that situation, I would say. Yeah. But start today's episode over here with the Scottish Union's colony. Wait, let me check something. Yep, I have that. Yeah. As we're seeing the new Scottish Union that recently just formed in the last episode, go ahead and start more colonial expansions over here in the Americas. The colonial expansions will be going into mainly the Quebecian region. Well, that's all they can go for now, but who knows if they'll make it down here in the future. And eventually the Scottish will be going ahead and making some pretty large colonies over here. In the colonial claims, I should probably turn on some rivers for this. There. In the colonial claims will look something like this. Even though this is what their first colony, their Hudson colony looks like, this is the Scottish Hudson colony here, and they're also going to continue to go south as they want to get a bunch of land and a bunch of colonies so they can connect up with their economic ally over down here in the Americas. And while the American nation doesn't really like the colonialism, but they like the economic aid from the Scottish, so they don't really mind too much. And eventually this little region here is going to have a treaty be made between it. Well, the Scottish will be getting the north side of this river here, all the way down here, and, well, this is basically what the Scottish are going to claim. There's this little treaty that's made. The Scottish will be claiming this piece of territory here, and in the North Americans, the New Yorkers Americans will be claiming this territory here. And the Americans are going to expand up north alongside the Scottish as they decide to make a pretty large, decent-sized border on this river and start to expand their empire all the way up through this large Ontario area here, following this river, and eventually these Scottish are going to make a border with them and follow this river as the territorial claims will look like this. And the Scottish Hudson colony the Scottish Quebecian colony is very large, and the Scottish will even start to explore these northern Canadian islands and they start to explore, but they don't be able to do too much exploration for now, as this is like Canada, and well, it's very cold here, so they don't really want to do more exploration. To do some stuff in Greenland, like connecting up these colonies here. Yeah. So, wait, did I forget to recolor some of these? Are these the same color? No. Yeah, I think I colored all of them. Yeah. The Scottish, slowly over time, have been able to explore more into the Greenlandic area, specifically having a huge focus in the southern region, as that's where they feel like exploring and colonizing some territory, so it's easier to get to the Quebecan colony here. Yeah. And eventually, naturally, over time, these colonies have ended up connecting with each other, various routes that have gone through here throughout Greenland, and eventually the Scottish Greenlandic colony is eventually going to spread all the way down here. And for reference, this little giant Greenlandic expansion here has all happened over time, and it doesn't happen instantly because, well, if you didn't see already, I save every single historical border on the province layer. So, the reason that this little line is here, this little border line here is on the province layer, is because that's what Mexico used to look like. Yeah. So I have that there. So I don't want to expand too much on some areas, So there's not like tiny provinces in Greenland. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I do stuff like this. And the colony that Scotland is gonna make in Greenland is gonna look something like this. And the Scottish Empire is starting to get pretty large, and some countries are starting to wonder, is this Scottish Union having more than just their European colonies? Or maybe do they have Quebec out there or something like that? Yeah. Because the Europeans don't even know about the Quebecan colony by the Scottish. So that's interesting. Let's go over down here to this area of Europe. As the Hungarians are proposing something pretty large to all these Baltic members here, specifically Switzerland, Slovenia, Yugoslavia, and this yellow countries that's the Belgrade country or Serbia, I'd assume. Yeah, they are proposing to them, why don't we unite? You know the troubles we've gone through recently, and this all happens because we've been divided. The religious rebellion in Poland happened because the religions were divided over in Poland. The Italian rebels happened because there's two groups that want to control, and quickly spiraled out of control into the ending of Italy or the Italian Empire. And there's other examples around the world. But seeing this, we are religiously, or at least mostly religiously united, sorta. And we also are in the same alliance that is mainly focused with the same faith. So here's my proposal. Why don't we unite and reform the Slovenian Empire? Bring back the glory that it once existed a long time ago. Bring back the glory. Bring back the yellow team. So basically, this proposal of Hungary is to reunite the yellow team, and some countries are going to accept. Hungary obviously wants to do this, so they accept. Obviously, the Swiss don't accept, as they don't really like the yellow teams specifically throughout history. The reason they joined this was because of their religion. They didn't necessarily join it to honor the yellow team. They don't like the yellow team. Yeah, in Yugoslavia, like Slovenia says no because they are nationalistic, but the Hungarians are mad about this as the old yellow team capital is in Slovenia, and the Hungarians kind of want that. And well, it's just between Serbia and Yugoslavia, and if one of them says no, then the union fails. But Serbia actually accepts, knowing that the group that broke away from Slovenia a long time ago was just a rebel group, in that the people of the yellow team or the banana team, yeah, now feel that they want to unite. And Yugoslavia originally broke away as a rebellion from Greece, but it's going to accept this deal to reunite the yellow team. And so the union happens. As all three of these nations get their capitals removed, in Hungary, Yugoslavia, and Serbia unite to reform the yellow team. The yellow team is back. After a long time, they will put their capital right here. And this is the new yellow union. The yellow team is back after a long time of disappearing after the negative First World War. Yeah, the Great Mediterranean War. They collapsed after that, and eventually didn't survive to the Hungarian-Slovenian invasion. But very quickly, this union is going to have some opinions. So, like, Switzerland and Slovenia don't like this, as the Swiss, they both the reason because the Slovenians, historically, this piece of land here was actually part of the yellow team before the Hungarians and them kind of gobbled it up. When the yellow team used to be like here. Yeah. But now they're giants, back in the series, and well, this thing is a lot smaller now, this alliance. But who knows what could happen in the future? Let's go. Wait, where should we go now? There's a few things I could do. What? Down here over to Western Africa. seeing many groups that are from Nigeria wanting to go ahead and split away from the Nigerian Sultanate and wanting to form their own thing, and a lot of them go north towards this river, and a lot of them will be settling over here and making some decent-sized groups. And this has been happening over time as everything else in the world has been happening. Yeah. And basically, these groups were actually going to spread all the way over to not the entire African continent, but maybe that's what Africa might look like in the future. Who knows? Maybe it just looks the same. Well, yeah. Probably won't look exactly the same as this, but it might look similar. And these groups expand a lot. Yeah. But eventually, some of these groups from Senegal, or wanting to settle in Senegal, will go out here and discover the existence of Algeria. Algeria is surprised that there's a whole new world down here, right underneath them, surprisingly. But they don't really know about some of these Senegali people here. They've been taking the time to explore down here and actually discover Nigeria. Yeah. And eventually more groups wanting to split away from the Nigerians will go ahead and sort of do a lot more exploration. As a lot will be exploring along these rivers, and a lot will actually be going down south towards these lush Congo jungle things, because they kind of want to just be there in the jungle and be their own thing. Yeah, kind of like tribes. Yeah. Look, why is all this Nigerian stuff happening? Nigeria is very small. Why would they want to leave it and not grow their home country? Well, as Nigeria has been expanding a lot, some groups want to leave it in order to form their own societies and become successful as Nigeria. Yeah. After a bit more exploration by all these groups going out, let's just fix this up a bit. As just say the Algerians do explore a tiny bit more into the Sahara Desert, but not much. And also the groups will be going down south a lot, or these tribal areas, but will be limited by certain rivers. Yeah. In the exploration or journey of many of these tribes, I've said the goal is to be as successful as Nigeria, and basically want to be their own thing. Yeah. And let's just say all the tribes that actually come out of this. There's gonna be a lot. Some of the major groups that are here. I said major groups. This is just some of the groups, and I only outlined the major ones because the other ones that are in the other white areas are. Well, if I included all of them, then this map would have 200 nations in it. Let's just say. And I don't really feel like doing that, so yeah, let's just explain some of them. Yeah. There's the Senegali group here that is situated around this little river here. Yeah. But can also go down south to this Liberian nation, which has a river border. And actually all these have river borders. But there's also this tiny thing here. Okay, let me get it over here. I don't know why it just does that sometimes. But there's a smaller group here. And also this little group next to it that's big enough, that has enough population to be labeled on the map. Who knows how long that's going to survive. There's this purple group here, this Ivory Coast dark brown group here, and some other groups here. Yeah, there's a lot of groups. And Africa has just gotten a lot more nations in it. But some pretty similar things are actually going to start happening down south with the South African country. As many people are going to start to head north and to hope to find new lands, and what the Nigerian nations are doing, except that they're not aware of Nigeria's existence. That's the thing. Yeah. So basically, these groups will explore about up to here, but they don't really dare to go into the Namib Desert just yet. And basically, at least I think it's the. It's not called the Namib Desert. It's just roughly what Namibia is. So I don't know what to call it. Yeah. Basically, these groups are going to also go up like the South African, like the Nigerian groups, and like I said, pretty similar goals. And these nations here will be expanding as the South African. Let me just show it. These South African nations expand here. The blue one expands to about here, and this one actually expands a lot, which might make it unstable, but who knows? In this other group that will just spawn in here, yeah, this is the Mozambique group, yeah. And basically, there's a lot more groups in Africa, and I'm looking forward to doing more with this continent, at least more than I do with Oceania. Yeah. I'm planning to do stuff that I kind of do in Eurasia with Africa. Just not some things like religions, but still. Yeah. Let's actually go down to South Africa now. As sort of era of resurgence, what other nations are sort of going ahead and trying to discover each other and are discovering each other, as this Quebecian nation here, no, Ecuadorian nation, and this Venezuelan nation, alongside with the Mexican nation, will all discover each other and their existences, and well, South America has more people in it. Yeah. But also, some groups from Nigeria are actually going to sail, hoping to maybe find something kind of like what the Senegalians discovered over up here with Algeria. And now the Senegalians are starting to look at Europe and see, and maybe look at the history and what has happened here. Yeah, and they might start to become a more advanced nation with Europe's help. Yeah. But some Liberian groups here will be sailing down here in this direction, hoping to find something that Senegal, their northern neighbor, found. So some of these groups will they'll sail in multiple directions. Some sailing into this direction, some sailing in this direction, and some sailing this direction. These ones over here will be going up here and landing in the Caribbean. Yeah, I'll mention them later. Another group will be going down here and actually landing over here on this little jungly part of Brazil. And well, they will be expanding, yeah, or exploring, as they will have a pretty large focus on this little inland area. And well, yeah, this is actually recent. This is not like how I did all this and these groups are here immediately. This has been happening over time, but this just happened, so yeah. In these other groups that sail down south, we'll be landing over here in this a Brazilian region. Yeah. And little civilization will look something like this. To the Caribbean group. The Caribbean group was actually an older group. So we'll actually be able to form a decently stable society here. And well, this society is going well, as it conquers most of the Caribbean and half of Cuba. But Mexico will just be taking the rest of this. Which kind of makes these guys think, hey, is there other people here? And there is a lot of other people here. Like a lot. And especially they notice when Florida kind of takes that. Yeah. And the world map is starting to look interesting. Very interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on. Specifically over here in these continents. Let's actually have a little bit of a focus thing on the Americas. As new tribes will be popping up, and these groups will be expanding. Before we get to that, let's talk about some more North American expansion. Yeah, very nice talk. And now we can see these new nations. Yeah. What is... So... are the expansions and new nations that have popped up across North America. So many nations have expanded, like Southern California, the Washington country, the Americans, the Floridians, the Texans, and I don't think the Mexicans expanded, actually. Yeah. But but new nations formed, which was this Michigan state here, this Wisconsin state here, this Illinois state here, and this Midwestern state here. And there's a lot more that's just going on around these new continents. We'll have to see how that's like in the future. Yeah. But now, let's actually go back to Europe, as this territory here is going to have a revolution in it. As this little piece of Quebec Yeah, no, not Quebec. The Brittany area is going to rebel away from Britain. Yeah. And this area is going to be quick to rebel, and it's going to quickly declare its independence from the British. Yeah, yeah. This is what the new nation is gonna look like. Yeah. And this thing's capital is going to be, if I can find the color, what? Here, yeah. But this thing is worried because Scotland is right there and they're colonial. The British are right there. They kind of want you back, and the French are right there, who's been wanting you for a long time. So the Brittany country is kind of scared. Yeah. Let's go to alliances now, as we're going to be seeing the Russians alliance expand, specifically over into this red country and this gray country here. Yeah. And basically, Russia's doing a lot more expansion and stuff. And it's interesting. But Russia is actually going to surprisingly gain an ally in this nation. But how is that possible? They literally don't have any connection at all. Well, now they do, as Russia has expanded more out into Siberia. And while they're kind of getting close to reaching the Pacific Ocean here, which is going to be a very large which is going to make a very large Russia if that happens. But speaking of that sort of region in the Pacific and stuff like that, let's go back over here. As we're going to be seeing this Alaskan group finally start to do things that aren't just sitting there doing nothing, waiting to do stuff. Eventually, these groups are going to be able to establish their own civilization. That's what that society looks like. It's pretty small for now, but well, we're gonna check back on that thing in the future. Yeah. And we're going to be going over back to Europe. Yep, we're still in Europe. I'm going to be seeing the Scottish Alliance expand more. And some nations are going to trust the Scottish Union and hope that they won't get a Catalonia treatment. And while the Iberians will be trusting the Scottish, and so will the Corsicans, and both Italian nations will be trusting the Scottish with their security, and they will also trust Brittany. Or Brittany will trust them. Yeah. But also, let's go up to Sweden, as they are actually going to decide to join the Holy French Empire. Which is interesting. Yeah, definitely interesting. Yeah. To this economical alliance here, as we be seeing the Estonians and the Lithuanians decide to join the alliance, wanting to gain some more security from Russia. Makes sense, yeah. And let's actually go to this Union alliance here, which is actually going to be losing 2 members. And those 2 members are the Volga country and this blue country here. They will both be deciding to leave the alliance because they don't really see a point in it anymore. And the nation kind of wants to live just in case of a potential war with Russia. But for now, they are going to decide to secure themselves with Russia as they will be deciding to join the Square Alliance. Yeah. And I think I might want to make that icon a bit smaller. Yeah. Japan now. I'm going to be seeing a union happen. As the Japanese military alliance collapses, and it collapses because all 4 of these nations unified to form the Japanese Union. This is the first 4-way union, I believe, in the history of this series, or this world entirely. Yeah. And this is for more protection against Korea. Makes sense. Yeah. Let's go down to this Indonesia area. The Indians will be continuing their explorations over here in the Java Island and discover the entire island of Borneo alongside Vietnam. But Vietnam doesn't really consider it as alongside, as the Indians definitely stole their territory. But down here. Yeah, which might potentially make more higher tensions between India and Vietnam, which is interesting since they're in the same alliance. And that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's scenario where civilization started over. See you in the next episode, where we are gonna see a lot more things happen around the world, and I believe the origin map here will finally be fully updated. Bye!